Hi, welcome to Progressive Short Takes. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. In this short take, I'd like to cover an analysis by Dave Dayen in one of his columns. Let's move right to that column. It's on the elimination of student debt as an austerity measure. So let's share that with you. So it looks like one of the things Joe Biden is going to be able to do when he gets into office, and one of the more high impact and controversial of the things that he will immediately be able to do, okay, is to use the education department's ability to cancel student debt under something called, quote, compromise and settlement authority, unquote. The federal government directly issues almost all student debt and has the discretion to reduce balances completely or anything short of that. Joe Biden has, I believe, formally said that he might be willing to, but to reduce student debt by 50,000. But Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren have been calling for student debt relief for a greater amount of that. Okay, and it seems like, according to Dave, the powers that be in Washington are getting nervous about something actually potentially happening as they're fashioning a list of reasons to shoot it down. Former Obama administration top economist Jason Furman is taking the lead on this. He started by insisting that student debt forgiveness would be taxable, which no, is not true. He got back a lot of static about that, okay, on Twitter. There's a Twitter thread that has been going on about that. There's a long history here, but suffice it to say that the government forgives student debt all the time without making it a taxable event, and the IRS has every discretion to follow its past rulings in that situation. Of course, this will be Biden's IRS, not Trump's IRS. And they will most probably say that student loans are a non-taxable scholarship. However, Furman admitted that there was, quote, some ambiguity, unquote, with his claim. And Dave says, which I guess is a new way of saying, quote, I was wrong, unquote, but nevertheless stated that student loan forgiveness wouldn't be worth it because it would only be a, quote, small positive multiplier from an economic standpoint. Quote, give someone $10 a year for 10 years and they won't spend $100 more today, unquote, he wrote. And Dave says, now there are a million reasons to cancel student debt that aren't economic in nature. Student debt acts like a medieval indenture. And if we have the power to eliminate it, we should. I couldn't agree more with that. But on the economic point, by the way, I don't owe any student debt. I never did. I never had to borrow anything to get through school because when I went to Cornell, tuition was only $500 a semester, and my family could afford that, and I worked in the summers to help out too. And then it was also the case that when I went to graduate school, I had fellowships and assistantships and stuff like that, and I never had to pay tuition. But on the economic point, so I never had any student debt, right? I came out of graduate school with a PhD, pretty much debt-free, except that I bought a car when I got out, so I owed the car. But on the economic point, what we've done with student debt during the pandemic, which maybe Furman doesn't know about, makes it more urgent that cancellation proceed on the first day in office. Furman's kernel of truth here is that there wouldn't be a lot of economic stimulus from student loan forgiveness in the sense that it wouldn't immediately circulate more money into the economy. He's ignoring the wealth effect that would come from balance sheet repair. If a student loan borrower suddenly didn't have that burden, their credit score would improve, and they would feel more unburdened to engage in big ticket purchases like cars or home loans. This, of course, is, I think, quite obvious. Furman did not take that into account. We already know that student debt causes people to be less likely to make such purchases, so lifting it should have that effect. That wealth effect is probably low in the short term, so what of the case for stimulus? I think that looks at things the wrong way because student debt payments have been on pause for the past 8 months. I think he should have said it looks at things the wrong way around because for the past 8 months, there haven't been the student debt payments. So that has served to prop up the economy for the past 8 months. The Trump administration put that pause in effect back in March. There's the executive branch power flashing again, meaning that 33 million Americans have not needed to make student loan payments since then. This has been an unsung part of the economic effect of coronavirus relief, taking hundreds of dollars a month off the books. The average payment is $393 of 33 million people really improves their budget. It does. It really does. It's a real stimulus. But this is coming to an end. Last week, the Education Department started informing borrowers that freeze on payments ends December 31st. One point, President Trump said he would extend it, but that was before the election was rigged and all non-spiteful governing stopped, says Dave. So 33 million Americans will have the sudden shock of an additional large bill, with many of them out of work and having exhausted their pandemic assistance and even unemployment benefits. Yes, there are income-based repayment plans that would not take large chunks from the unemployed, but not everyone is enrolled in them. Just managing the restart again is going to be a huge logistical hardship, and even for the employed, there would be a significant loss of discretionary income compared to the past 8 months if payments resume at a time when the economy is on the verge of locking down again from the outbreak. Seen in this way, so it's not that it would be a stimulus to a normal economy. It's that canceling it would be a negative stimulus, have a crashing effect on the current economy, which is struggling. Seen in this way, canceling student debt is not just a nice theory, but an imperative to prevent a snapback that is sure to crush household balance sheets. The last thing we need with the fledgling recovery is another 13 billion or so flowing out of the economy every month. That's the average $393 payment when multiplied by 33 million. The real number might be lower, but not by much. Biden has already vowed to cancel $10,000 in student debt for every borrower, and all of it for those who attended public colleges and make under $125,000 a year. So he'd not only be saving the economy, but fulfilling a campaign promise. There are those who preach about the unfairness of it all, that those who didn't go to college or paid off their loans get nothing. This is, he says, but Dave says, and I agree. Look, things like this, like forgiving student loans, are good for the economy. They have to be started somewhere. There has to be a cutoff somewhere. And as Dave said, this pitting of people against one another is bad, even in the best of times. It's terrible in times like this. There are plenty of executive actions you can pair with this to make it more broad-based, seizing drug patents to lower prescription prices, for example, or high road contracting that would force all federal contractors to pay a $15 an hour minimum wage. In the worst of times like right now, says Dave, it's downright stupid. Forcing billions in payments back would hurt everybody, The family that has to pay again will eat out less or put off that new piece of furniture they wanted. The entire economy will get socked because Trump likely won't budge. We're going to have a chaotic 3 weeks absent congressional action when student loan payments are back. Biden can make this significantly better in a very visible way, and he can do it by himself. I think Dave is 100% correct on that. I think that Furman, okay, is wrong anyway, even in stable economies. Okay, a study done at the Levy Center by Kelton, okay, and Fulwiler, okay, Marshall Steinbaum, okay, if I recall, showed that there would be a stimulus effect from forgiving student debt. So I'm going to leave it there. And I'll be back shortly with another progressive short take. But we need this forgiveness from Joe Biden. It would be a great thing for him to do. It would win him a great deal of social and political credit among the 33 million people, okay, who owe that debt. It would not cost him very much politically either. So that's it for now. I will be back shortly with another progressive short take. Thank you.